Welcome back into NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey, producer Chris Daughtry behind the scenes for today's show as we are finally on the verge of truly getting into the nitty-gritty of the preseason at long last. Been fun on that front. How many preseason games will you end up watching? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. How many preseason games will you end up watching? Chris, you want to bring yourself on here for a hot sec? The Cowboys cut Paris Campbell, so I want to fire the tweet off. They cut him from IR. It doesn't really matter. So how many – we will not be doing a short on it. It's fine. We don't need to do a short on that one. How many preseason games will you be watching this year? 3 for your favorite team is also a perfectly valid answer on that front. So how many preseason games will you watch? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Marcos Mann's got 3 for the Vikings and 3 for the Chiefs. Chua just says 1, I assume for their 49ers. Tony's got 5. My answer is going to be very high because I'm a sick person.
I'm going to be watching as many as we do watch parties for, I'll tell you that. If I'm at work, obviously we're going to be watching them. If I'm at home, usually when I go home, I try to do something non-sports related. Just because that's what we do all day. I have to get in some
Soft.
other mindset. It is what it is, but...
I suppose it doesn't really matter.
It's still going to end up being 10 at least, which is more than the average person, I think.
How many preseason games will you watch? Let me know in the comments of today's show. I mentioned the Cowboys cut Paris Campbell. Most interestingly, Andy Isabella got cut from the 49ers with the rare failure to disclose physical condition, meaning he had something that they didn't know about in the end. So how many preseason games will you watch? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Speaking of the Cowboys, this is the pin poll on today's show. What will Dallas end up doing with Micah Parsons? T for trade, P for pay. We will discuss that in depth on today's video. What will they end up doing? T for trade, P for pay. You can let me know in the comments of today's video. I see T's from Marcos Mann, Tony, Chua, P from Gaming Wizard. Some of this I think is how it always goes for NFL questions. What do you want your favorite team to do with this? I see a trade to the Commanders. You're going to vote T. I don't think that actually happens. I think Jerry would rather ship him off to the UFL before doing that, which of course isn't how any of it works, but you get the point. What will Dallas end up doing with Micah Parsons? T for trade, P for pay. Let me know in the comments of today's video. People are already saying, they made room for somebody. No, they cut Paris Campbell because he's already on IR. That's how it goes. So he was already out for the season. This doesn't actually change anything for the Cowboys, frankly. All right, let's also go to James Cook and his status out in Buffalo. Will James Cook end up getting a new deal with the Buffalo Bills? Y for yes, N for no. I will talk about the Kyren Williams contract, how that might help set some framework if there wasn't already some of it set for the potential James Cook extension. It was a very unique one in Buffalo, I feel like, for Cook. Will he get a new deal? Y for yes, N for no. Yeses from Gaming Wizard and Tony and Joel Ski, whatever it is, 830. Tony, Chua says no. Marcos Mann says yes. Get off my lawn says yes. Byron also typing yeses. So more yeses on that front than on the Micah side. We will also discuss the quarterback battle, Indy, between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Who wins the job week 1? Because I kind of feel like we're going to see both of them. AR for Anthony Richardson, DJ for Daniel Jones. Chris, what are your thoughts on this side here?
I would like to say Anthony Richardson wins the job, but there were so many things last year, from him getting injured to him being gassed and wanting to come off the field. And then you have Daniel Jones, who was just a complete dumpster fire last year. Maybe a new team, maybe a new place will, kind of help him out on that front, because he did have a good year with the Giants. They went to the playoffs at least once, so I mean, maybe he's still got it in him, but I just don't know, man. There were so many things. And it wasn't just Daniel Jones at times. Their O-line was terrible. Talking about the Giants there. So Anthony Richardson obviously has the more tools, but I mean, I don't know. They're just both of these guys were dumpster fires at points last year.
I feel like we're going to see both of them this year, and I don't think that's a very good thing in the end. So AR for Anthony Richardson, DJ for Daniel Jones. If you are ready for us to start today's live show, show it by liking today's video. We're actually not that far away from that coveted 50% like ratio. So like the video, please and thank you if you haven't already done so. We appreciate your support here on NFL Daily. Coming up on the live show, news and rumors across the NFL, a mailbag. There are two ways to get in on the show. It's hashtag NFL or skip the line with a super chat. Super chat means you are guaranteed. Get your questions in with that hashtag NFL or just thoughts, comments in general. It's an open forum to discuss all things football here. All things NFL or college football. Not soccer. How about that? Not soccer. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, hashtag NFL or super chat. And we'll run through Dane Brugler's 2026 NFL draft rankings. That is at the running back spot, the summer scouting version. So all coming live here on NFL Daily. Coming up on this edition of NFL Daily here at Chat Sports, we will talk the James Cook latest and how the Kyren Williams deal might impact that, the Micah Parsons trade request, and the Colts' ongoing quarterback battle. In the month of August, these are the most likes on the Chat Sports channel here, which it's August. It's kind of a slower ramp up for that side of it. 118 is the most this month. 435 is the most of any video in any month of August here at Chat Sports. Let's change that. Let's beat that 435 number today. Please and thank you, like today's video. Let's head north to Buffalo, relative to where we are. Location-wise. James Cook appears to have changed his plans, and maybe not even appears to. It's kind of something he outright has. Moved to a hold-in at Bills training camp. He was asked about this, like, hey, why are you holding out? What's the thought process here? His answer repeatedly was business. I'm just here so I don't get fined, essentially, is what James Cook's saying on that front. Brandon Beane, the Bills GM, asked about this, said, it's not something we were fully aware of until shortly before practice. I get it. I understand it. It's the world we're in, I guess, of how the players want to respond to things like that. It's not something we want. It's not something we look forward to. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier, it sometimes can be the way of the world. So we'll deal with it the best we can, hopefully. I'd love to see Jimbo out there today. Of note, he was not out there today. I don't know that answer at this point this morning, whether that will happen or not, but hopefully if it's not today, hopefully tomorrow or the next day. This was, I think, from Sunday. It is now Tuesday. He is still not practiced yet. Now, James Cook is in a very unique spot with the Buffalo Bills where, he's probably the best skill player on the Bills roster. Like, apologies to Khalil Shakir and, maybe get the breakout year at tight end with Dalton Kincaid, but I think Cook and his efficiency, his big playability, makes him the best running back, best skill player on Buffalo's roster, even if, the workhorse numbers kind of actually aren't there. He only had 207 carries last year. The price tag is also an issue for James Cook. I do think the Kyren Williams extension, 3 years, reportedly $33 million with $23 million guaranteed, should impact James Cook. If I were James Cook, there's no way I'm settling for less than what Kyren Williams got because the market almost always indicates the next guy gets paid a little more, even if those are kind of low guaranteed figures. There had been some buzz that James Cook wanted Saquon or original Saquon or essentially Derrick Henry money. I don't know if he's going to get that. I think he wanted to beat Jonathan Taylor. I don't think that's going to end up happening here. I don't think he quite gets to that figure, but he can get 12 and a half, 13. I think that is kind of a realistic goal for James Cook that maybe is fair enough for both sides. So will James Cook get a new deal with the Buffalo Bills? It's the pinned comment on today's video. Why for yes and for no? Go vote in the comments of today's show. Let's talk Micah Parsons, as I'm sure everyone watching knows, because it would be kind of wild to have missed it unless you were, in a coma. If so, congrats. Welcome back to the world. Micah Parsons has formally submitted a trade request to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys, i.e. Jerry Jones, said they would not be granting the request from Micah Parsons. They're not going to do that. Jerry told the fans to not worry, but, it's Jerry. The general vibe around the NFL has been, doubt they trade him, but, you can never say never now. Also, this is such a disaster class by Dallas. I think it was the one NFC East scout told somebody, I think it was Jordan Schultz, that we're laughing at Dallas. How can you not be? The handling has been a complete and utter disaster. We'll go more in depth on this here in just a second. But this NFL hoodie, or for these NFL hoodie styles for your favorite team, are available at chatsports.com/NFL hoodie. They were $55. Now they're just $33. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. You'll have to search or sort by your favorite team. Do make note of that. But it's chatsports.com/NFL hoodie. My mindset as it relates to Mike and the Cowboys, as the Cowboys Report host, which I do always want to acknowledge, it's another bad look for Dallas. Again, you're screwing around and not paying your high-paid player who everyone knows is going to get record-setting money, and you know it deep down too, and you had the secret conversation with him previously, and now you're just kind of in this bad spot. What are you doing? Why? Why are we doing this again? History does tell us, by the way, a trade request actually probably doesn't get the trade. We'll see what happens with Scary Terry. I think he ends up back in Washington. Hendrickson at some point probably gets paid by the Bengals. We'll see if it's what he wants or not, or if they find a middle ground. T. Higgins did not get paid following his trade request, which was originally David Mulgeta with the agent. Myles Garrett, we're probably doing the exact same thing with Micah that we did with Myles Garrett. Kind of funny how that one ends up playing out with Garrett getting paid a massive sum, raise the price for Micah, and now Micah kind of repeating the Garrett playbook. As for the trade value of Micah, look, the timing is bad. The Cowboys do not have as many suitors for a bidding war. For example, the Cardinals, the Falcons would have been prime logical trade partners. Well, guess what? They paid or drafted a couple different edges, so they're probably not as interested as they once were. And the trade value package, by the way, look, you're not getting Herschel Walker package. You're not getting it again. You're never going to have a team get a couple picks and then get conditional picks based on cutting a player who they cut. You're not going to get 3.5 first rounders. It's just not. It's not feasible. The more realistic trade packages here: 2 firsts and a other pick. The Jalen Ramsey trade, doable. Timing not that dissimilar. The Khalil Mack trade, kind of unique. Not quite 2 ones. The Bears had better offers, but they wanted to ship him outside of the NFL or outside of the AFC, so they shipped him to Chicago. Noteworthy. I think 2 ones and change in some capacity is a realistic, fair ask, which for the Cowboys, and you don't want to trade Micah, you're probably just we're not going to do that anyway. We're just going to stick with what we have, and there is no trade package that we would accept, which is how it gets really messy when you also don't call the agent back. Sloppy. So what will the Cowboys do with Micah Parsons? T for trade, P for pay. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Let's go to the Colts quarterback battle. And boy, this is something, man. This is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, training camp battle going on. Who is the quarterback in Indy? It's a 2-man race. Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones. Those are the battles that are ongoing. It's that battle at quarterback. The highly drafted pick by Indy, the highly drafted flameout starter in New York with more experience and just kind of a bad situation overall for the way it ended with Daniel Jones. It's not a great quarterback battle. We'll break this down more in depth, but we are about 648 subs, depending on when you're watching, away from 414,000 subs here on Chat Sports. Help us get there. Hit that sub button right now. Richardson's best asset remains his mobility. He can run. He's got good size. He's got power. He is still an extremely, extremely inconsistent passer. Look, completion percentage is a raw number. Might not always be the best indicator. But if you're under 50%, you are doing something wrong. We don't have to pretend about that. We don't have to try to sit and say, oh, yeah, well, there's some tougher throws. Like, no, you completed under 50% of your passes. Like, let's be realistic here. So Richardson, the upside is there. They drafted him high, but they brought in Daniel Jones and gave him a real chance to compete for the starting job. And I don't think this is over. Jones offers some mobility. You could see a very quarterback run-heavy scheme under Shane Steichen since Jones and AR have mobility. But it's not exactly the best starting quarterback battle we've ever seen. So who wins the job? AR for Anthony Richardson, DJ for Daniel Jones. Sound off in the comments of today's show. Look, I think there is a good chance both guys at some point start this season. Whether it's injuries, ineffectiveness, would anyone be surprised if the Colts gave both guys a crack at being the starter to save a season or earn the job fully at some point? I would not be. I still think the ideal outcome is Richardson. He was drafted higher. You've invested more in him than a one-year contract for Daniel Jones. And if he does develop, then you feel really good about that. And your jobs are definitely safe, even with the ownership changeover in Indy. It's still early. Doesn't sound like either guy has really seized control of the job yet, which, isn't necessarily a huge surprise. There's a lot to do. Maybe we'll see a decent amount of them in the preseason this year for Indianapolis. It's time for our mailbag here on NFL Daily. Use hashtag NFL or skip the line altogether via Super Chat. It can be questions, comments, general thoughts on your favorite team, trade ideas like that one Falcons fan has thrown in there. Get your questions in via hashtag NFL or skip the line altogether via Super Chat. I'm going to sip some of my caffeinated water. Going to be a ghost energy day tomorrow. I'll tell you that much, Chris. And then Thursday and then Friday. So, which I love those things. They are no way good for me, but who cares? I think it's any different than the coffee. It can't be. It's just caffeine, right? Better than your Zyn addiction. It's an addiction. You can call it what it is. I've seen the tower out there, which at some point the higher it gets, we have to keep putting it in HQ and throwing in updates there. Get your questions in via hashtag NFL or skip the line altogether via Super Chat. All set there, Chris? Let's dive in. I feel like Laura's always got the first question here on NFL Daily, and I really do appreciate that as well. What do the Niners need to do to become a Super Bowl contender in this year? Well, I think the number one thing, and this is kind of a cop-out answer, stay healthy. They were super banged up last year. I think you saw a little bit of brain drain effect on the coaching staff. I think he'll be better on defense with Robert Saleh back. But McCaffrey went down. That team is so much different when McCaffrey's healthy. Ayuk is banged up. We'll see when Jawan Jennings is fully back. Staying healthy will go a pretty long way. I do think your front on defense, you've overhauled that. You spent a first-round pick on Micah Williams. You traded for Bryce Huff. You spent a second-round pick on Alfred Collins. You drafted TJ West in the fourth round. That front, it has to, by the end of the year, has to be extremely good. Stay healthy. I know Isaac Rindo's banged up now. Jordan James has been a bit nicked up too. That's why they added Amir Abdullah. Funny full circle there. Get them healthy is a huge deal. If they're healthy, why can't they at least win the division? And then you're right back to being that dangerous 49ers team. So I would not rule that out as a possibility. All right, the most comments on today's show gets a shout out. The last winner was Austin Boyd, 52 separate comments. Appreciate that, Austin. Flood the comment section for me right now. Jaden Houston, or Jaden Houston, however you pronounce it. Who gets dealt or paid, valid there, first, Micah or Scary Terry? I'm going to go with we get a resolution on Terry McLaurin first. I think they won't drag that out the same way I presume you are going to see the Cowboys drag out the Micah Parsons saga. I feel like the over-under now for Micah is September 1st. And that's the over-under for when the Micah stuff gets sorted out. I think the Terry McLaurin stuff gets sorted out. I don't know if a trade happens for either player, frankly. I would not be surprised if that was not how it played out and it was extensions for both guys. That is what happens a lot of times in trade requests because normally it doesn't reach that point and they're just like, yeah, we'll trade you, but we'll keep it quiet to get more value back. Like, the trade request oftentimes means I'm not making progress on the extension. Let me try to force something here. So who gets paid or traded first? MP for Micah Parsons, TM for Terry McLaurin. Let me know in the comment section, the pinned comment, by the way, of today's show. Tony Fuentes, I hope Josh Simmons earns the left tackle spot for KC. I mean, they've already kind of like started to work Jalen Moore, who they paid a decent amount of money to, at left guard to compete with Kinzu Sumataya at that spot. Giving him some right tackle reps too. I feel like this is Josh Simmons' job. That if it's ever close, like you're going to go with the young player, I do think Simmons ends up starting day one for Kansas City. Health assumed. From Dat One Falcons fan, trade idea. Dallas gets a 2026 second, a 2026 fourth, a 2027 first, outside linebacker D'Angelo Malone, running back Tyler Algier. Falcons get Micah Parsons, who says no. The Cowboys say no. I like Tyler Algier. He's a good player, but like that caliber of player is maybe worth a fourth-round pick. Maybe. D'Angelo Malone, I don't really think has a lot of trade value. Let's just say it's a day 3 pick. So you're doing a second, a future one, and what amounts to a couple of day 3 draft picks, some early value there mixed in with the 4s. But like, I think the Cowboys can get 2 1s at minimum for Micah. So I think, plus, honestly, I think Atlanta having pumped so many assets already into that edge rushing room, unless they wanted to include a James Pierce or a Jalen Walker as part of the deal, they probably can go with the youth there. Sean Harrington, Blake Corum trade with the Kyren Williams extension. I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams at least got some calls about that. Because remember, they have Kyren Williams. They drafted Jarquez Hunter in the 4th. I think the Rams and Sean McVay want to have the run game matter. I don't think they want to have the scenario, what was it, 2 years ago when Kyren went down, they didn't have anybody, and they were trying the Cam Akers thing again. I could see them holding on to guys, but you know, what if Ronnie Rivers ends up being halfway decent for them? At this point, probably be asking for too much there, but I think teams could call. Name a player, any team, any player, who you think ends up getting traded. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. For Mr. 4214, we should petition not to go to the Cowboys game if Parsons gets traded so Jerry Jones can lose money, LOL. Here's the biggest problem. I get where you're coming from, but here is the biggest problem. The NFL still has TV stuff, and the Cowboys are still going to get enough TV views. Even hate watching will be a thing there. If you are mad at Micah, though, Cowboys, this is how you try to make your voice heard. Marcos Mann says, I am ready for Eagles against the Cowboys. I cannot wait either. Going to be a fun game. I think the Eagles are 7-point favorites, which feels oh so right in the end. Football truly back in less than a month is going to be awesome. Now, if you want us to keep doing weekly live shows, show it by subscribing. That way you can join us for all the different live shows here on Chat Sports. From Skyler, should Minnesota trade for a receiver if Addison is suspended? Well, he was suspended 3 games today, Tuesday, by the NFL. I don't think they're going to. It's a 3-game suspension. They can get by with some combination of 3rd-round pick Ty Felton, 6th-round pick Jalen Naylor. They did pick up Rondale Moore, too, if they had to just, survive. Tim Jones has played snaps in the NFL. They've got 2 tight ends they like in Hawkinson and tight end 2, Josh Oliver. So I don't think the Vikings have to go trade for a receiver. I think they'll be able to just, hold the fort down and be okay until he's back. From Billy Klein, will the Bears trade Cole Kmet? My answer is probably not. At least not this year. I think they want to have the ability to be multiple tight ends and have Loveland and Cole Kmet be involved. Durham Smythe can block, but that's not, he doesn't offer much as a pass catcher, frankly. So I don't think this offseason we see the Bears shopping around Cole Kmet. Next offseason, that's a possibility. But given the investments and, the fun asset of Colston Loveland still, I think the Bears end up keeping Kmet. How many more trades happen before week 1 gets going? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Get your predictions in for me right now. Ruthless Monk, what does the market look like for the 2023 wide receiver class? Puka Nacua, Zay Jones, Rashee Rice, Jordan Addison. I think the one who could reset it is probably Puka Nacua. The market jumped up significantly with Jamar Chase's massive contract. He's ahead of Justin Jefferson. He is ahead of CeeDee Lamb, etc. I could see Puka Nacua by the time we get to that point, which is not now. You're maybe doing it next offseason, but you're probably further away, maybe a year after that. I could see Puka resetting the market. As of right now, I don't think Zay Flowers resets it, but he could be in that tier 2 grouping, which by then could be $30+ million. Rashee Rice has to keep his off-the-field stuff out of the way. That's always going to be looming. Jordan Addison is probably in the T. Higgins range of top 10 highest paid receiver, but not quite as the other guys because he's D2. The Vikings could let him leave as well. That actually could be a scenario Minnesota explores given the investments elsewhere, but that's not a guarantee either. I think they would rather keep him, frankly. I think maybe Puka could reset the market. Nathan Wagner, now that Addison got his suspension handed to him, what do you see happening to Rashee Rice's suspension? Good question. I don't know when we're going to get the Rashee Rice suspension. That legal case is still ongoing. It's not clear when that's actually going to be finalized, and the NFL won't finalize it until the legal side of it is all squared away. So it's kind of uncertain of what the situation looks like here. There's a couple there's arguments for a shorter suspension, a different suspension. I put the over under at 6. I think a 6-game suspension, which might not come this year, might come next year, makes sense because there is video. Regardless of what the legal system ends up fully playing out, there's video of it too. So, from Mr. 4214, will Lamb and Pickens both have 1,000+ receiving yards? I think it's possible. Health is required for Lamb, for Pickens, but also for the quarterback. Milton might be able to get you there with a couple deep bombs per game, but I think there is a possibility both those guys go for 1,000 yards. If it is, it might be 13 for CD and 1,001 for George Pickens, but I do think it is possible for both of those guys. All right, how many preseason games will you guys end up watching this year? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. How many preseason games will you guys end up watching this year? Let me know in the comments of today's show. One day I should go back and count the number of ones I've actually watched. Because for me, I'm just kind of it's just on. It's just on, no matter what's going on. Even if I'm doing something else, there's a game on the laptop, I just want to check in just generic NFL stuff, so I got a feel for what's going on. It's always on in some capacity. So let me know in the comments section of today's show, how many preseason games will you watch? Coming up on today's show, we are breaking down Dane Brugler's summer scouting rankings at running back for the 2026 NFL Draft. Dane mentioned his top 5. We'll go in-depth on those. And then he had a bunch of other names that we will get to as well on today's show. He had, in total, I think it was 37 players because it was 25 and 12. Yeah, 37 players in total he ranked there. We have not yet had Dane's quarterback list. If we want us to do a reaction video to that, because I really like the stuff that Dane does overall, show it by liking today's video, please and thank you. We'll go 1 to 5 here. I don't think any real surprise at number 1. Jeremiyah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, who I think has a real chance to be a first-round pick. The estimated size for him, 6 foot 210. This is a gifted athlete. You can go watch that. He had the long run against Virginia, the long run against Indiana. the hurdles he was doing, sometimes excessively. Dane is right when he says what Jeremiyah Love does best is instinctive athleticism. He wasn't on Feldman's freak list because he wasn't healthy and didn't have the fully testing measurements there. That's a concern there. But this is an explosive, big play machine. Look how good he was last year on the ground. 1,125 yards. There were 2 backs last year in college football who had at least 6.9, nice, yards per carry and 14 rushing touchdowns. This guy named Ashton Genty and Jeremiyah Love. This is, to me, the clear-cut number 1 back. The one note Dane had of be better was do more receiving stuff. All 28 catches that Jeremiyah Love had last year were like screens and swings and check down stuff. There was nothing actually downfield. So, get him more involved in that area. Like, I think you can. He's athletic enough to be dynamic as a slot option if the Fighting Irish will let him do that. So, will a running back go in round 1 this year? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Number 2 is Nick Singleton, one of 2 very talented Penn State backs. And Notre Dame also has Jadarian Price, who's a damn good player too, by the way. Singleton ran for 1,000 yards last year with Penn State, part of that dynamic duo. This is a gifted size speed combination. 6 foot and 3/8 inches, 218 pounds, and I bet he cracks 4.4 at the combine if and when he's able to run. The best trait, Dane's right. He is that height, weight, speed combination NFL teams adore at the running back position. That is a big play generator. The downside here, I think this is a good note from Dane too, the creativity. There's sometimes a knack of Singleton to just run straight, or I am going to hit the hole and that's it. Like, he doesn't always use those creative gifts the way I would like to see him use them. He's dynamic as all get out when he hits the hole and is able to get to the second level. That the speed he has of, sub 4.4, just under 220 is extremely, extremely rare and valuable. But I do wonder if he is dynamic enough to be more than I think he's going to thrive in his zone scheme where it's just like hit the hole and go. Other schemes, maybe not so much, but he also offers pass catching value and can do return stuff. There is no doubt there is a role for Nick Singleton on every NFL team. It's a matter of how early does he go amid his development. How many backs go in round 1 this year? I think at least 1 in Jeremiyah Love, but that might be it. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. A transfer from Tulane, Makhi Hughes to Oregon. Estimated sizes here, by the way, 6 foot, 215. I don't think people realized how good he was last year. 1,401 yards, 15 touchdowns. He has really good contact balance. That's easier to have at Tulane than it is at Oregon. So that one you want to make sure it's still the case as this next year goes. But as a runner, there's so much to like with Makhi Hughes. His production speaks for itself. I think the athletic traits are really intriguing. He is the only he is actually the leading returning rusher, I should say, in college football from last season. Oregon has had a very good run scheme, I feel like, under both regimes, even dating back to Mario Cristobal. Given, the run game production, I like it. You can see in the stats, though, 30 catches the last 2 years with several drops and inconsistency as a pass protector. Needs to be better in that area. This NFL hoodie for your favorite team is on sale. The two-tone cutoff hoodie was $55. Now it's just $33. I know it's August and it's hot in a lot of places, but if you want to have something for your fall wardrobe that's not overly hot, go get this hoodie for your favorite team today. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Chatsports.com/NFL hoodie. Damon Claiborn out of Wake Forest. Maybe not the most household name, but he did go for 1,000 yards last season. He's a senior, so verified measurements. 5'9.5", 192 pounds. If you like, I am not as high on Claiborn as Dane is, but this is very much Dane's back. Like he mentioned, he wants creativity from Nick Singleton. Claiborn offers that. He'll jump cut around, man. He is very good at those cuts and kind of finding ways to generate extra yardage with creases and and bounce it wide, bounce it inside as he needs to. Sometimes too much so. Sometimes it's the old double-edged sword. I think has been a bit hamstrung by the offensive line supporting cast with Wake Forest. Of note, by the way, Claiborn has great speed, which you have to be at 5'9". Wake Forest's last drafted back was over 35 years ago. 2 fullbacks in that time frame, though, were drafted. Claiborn will end that streak. If you want more NFL draft videos, hit that sub button. YouTube.com/chatsportstv for more NFL draft coverage. Bryson Washington of Baylor, maybe a surprise 4-5 for many of you watching. Estimated size of 6 foot 205, ran for 1,000 yards on only 175 carries. This is a well-built, athletic, north-south runner. Dane listing his best trait as his ability to kind of press, read the vision, hit the hole, and go for a Baylor offense that I think has high expectations of being ultra-productive this year. Averaged almost 6 yards a carry for the Baylor Bears offense. I think Dane is right. The pad level sometimes gets a little bit high, but I think if you lower that pad level, it's only going to amplify the power he can run with and kind of even amplify his best trait of being able to kind of sort through traffic and hit the hole and go. That's Dane's top 5. I think there absolutely are some players who you could discuss here from beyond that list. So who did Dane leave out of his top 5? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. So 12 underclassmen total Dane ranked. We mentioned Love, Hughes, and Washington. C.J. Baxter from Texas is 4, listed at 6'1", 230. Darius Taylor from Minnesota and Quatravion Wisner out of Texas. So both Texas backs. The guy who didn't play last year is actually ahead of Wisner. That's Baxter. I actually love that take. I think Baxter, this is why Jaden Blue went pro early. He was going to be RB3. These running backs are incredible. I am excited to see how they fare. I think both guys will get touches. They're both underclassmen. Maybe one goes pro, maybe one does not. I kind of dig Dane putting C.J. Baxter ahead of Wisner. It requires him to be healthy coming off the injury, but before he went, the stuff we've seen from Baxter is really interesting. He could have a massive season if he gets a big enough workload. So who's better, QW or CB? Other underclassmen, some transfers here, by the way. Justice Haynes at Michigan, the former Bama product. I am curious to see how he fares in the Wolverines' run-heavy offense. Quentin Joyner coming over from USC at Texas Tech, the Portal Kings over there. Mark Fletcher at Miami. Jaheim White is really small. He's 5'7", 195. He's fun. Also small is Dylan Edwards, 5'9", 170. Super explosive, though. LJ Martin is the bigger back here, along with Mark Fletcher. They're both listed at 6'2", above 220 pounds. The top seniors, Chris, your boy, Jam Miller checks in at number 3. He'll be the lead back, we assume, for Alabama. Well-built, under 5'10", but 214 pounds. Le'Veon Moss had the off-field incident earlier. Rashul Faison is really intriguing to me. I thought he was really good last year, transferred up to South Carolina, just under 5'7", 217. As of filming, has been working through some eligibility question marks, but I think he ends up getting cleared. I certainly hope he does, by the way. Jonah Coleman is, I'm trying to think of the best comparison here. The short, stocky back, kind of like Maurice Jones-Drew. I'm not saying that's the comp, but that's who he's built like. He's 5'8", 227. Short but thick, baby. That's the way some of you guys like him. Jaden Ott, under 5'11", 208, transferred from Cal. I might have put him in my top 5. I think that the big playability is going to be on full display for Ott after transferring from Cal. Katron Allen is the opposite of Nick Singleton. Singleton is explosive as all get out, but sometimes the vision is hit and miss. Allen will hit the hole. He just doesn't always have the juice. He's a bit slower there. C.J. Campbell at Rutgers. Mel Brown, underrated player from UConn. Another big body. C.J. Donaldson will split time with James Peoples at Ohio State this year. He's just over 6'1", 226. Logan Diggs, chance to be the lead back for Ole Miss. I love Jamal Haynes. He is so much fun. He's short. He's under 5'7". He's 5'6" and 5'8". 184 is the official verified measurement there. Terrion Stewart, formerly of Bowling Green, transferred to Virginia Tech. He could have a big year. Noah Whittington is the other Oregon back. Sub 5'8", but is 202. one of the smallest players in college football. Desmond Reed, built like Deuce Vaughn. 5'5" and 3/4, 169. But he's fun. He's productive. Some smaller school players. Aljay Henderson from Buffalo. Eli Hendricks out of Navy. There's the weird Navy requirements that are kind of complicated there. Devin Makhi from Purdue. Roydell Williams, the former Bama player at FSU. Anthony Hankerson. Angel Johnson, Devon Booth. These are called later name guys who, I don't know if they're going to end up getting drafted, frankly. Cash Jones is an elite name. I wanted to name my son Cash. My wife told me no. 5'10", 5'8", 183, but he was pretty good last year in a smaller, rotational role for Georgia. Pin poll today. What will the Cowboys end up doing with Micah Parsons? T for trade, P for pay. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. As we are getting further now into the preseason, we will have more videos for you here on the channel, more updates and everything else. Hit that sub button if you haven't already, youtube.com/chatsportstv. And we'll see you guys again throughout the week and live again on Tuesday.